Hey everybody, it is Corey Poirier. Excited to be here with Kelly Falardeau, and this is going to be just a quick 30-minute chat with everybody about the new book that we're in the pre-order stage for. The new Blue Talks book. It's actually the first one in the Blue Talks series, and so I just thought it might be cool to come on and talk a little bit about the book, what's in the book, who's in the book, all that kind of stuff, because I realize that a lot of times when you're promoting a new book, the challenge is people are usually buying it because they like you or know the co-author, but a lot of times they don't really have a feel for what's inside the book. And so I thought maybe this is a chance to dive further into that. And then tomorrow, I know a bunch of the Blue Talk speakers and authors are going to be doing Facebook Lives together as well. So this will give you lots of chance to know what's inside the book and what the book's about. We are in the pre-order stage, so we haven't moved over to Amazon yet. So for now, you can get the book at bluetalksbook.com. And then Kelly also set up a short link that we'll post in the comments here as well. So Kelly, first and foremost, for those that may be discovering you for the first time, can you perhaps tell us a little bit about who you are and your background in relation to the book world?
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, I want to thank you for doing this. I've been watching people's comments and stuff since we had the launch last week. And, everybody is just so happy and excited to be a part of you and, what you're doing and love what you're doing. So, I want to thank you for that, because without you being the leader of this, none of this would happen. So thank you. Yeah. So my story is that I got burnt as a 2-year-old to 75% of my body. And so I had to have surgeries every 2 years until I was 20 years old. And, I'd spend a month of my summer holidays in the hospital. And so I never ever thought I'd get married. I never thought I'd have kids. I never thought I'd be anybody. And I did end up getting married. I'm now divorced. And then I did end up having 3 beautiful kids, and decided one day after I met Charmaine Hammond that I wanted to be a speaker. And she said to me, Kel, people will be so inspired by your story. You need to be a speaker. And I thought, what? I'm just a burn survivor. So what? Like, why does that make me any more special than anybody else? And she said, no, people will be so inspired of your story of hope and courage and bravery and inspiration. They will just be so inspired by you. And so that was when I thought, okay, fine, I'm gonna try this thing. And so I did end up taking a workshop on how to be a keynote speaker. But more importantly, what happened is that she also said to me, Kel, you need to have a book. And I said, what? What do you mean I need to have a book? I don't know how to write a book. And she's like, no, you need to write a book so that, when you speak, people hear your story and they want to know more about you. Then you have a book that you can sell them. And then they can take a little piece of you home with them and learn more about your story. And so that was the beginning of my author career. And then sure enough, 5 months later, another friend of mine said to me, Kel, you need to be a best-selling author. And I was like, what? Why do I need to be a best-selling author? Like, I don't get it. And she's like, no, if you're a best-selling author, you can charge higher fees, you can get on more stages, you can just advance your career in an even bigger way. And so I thought, well, how am I going to do that? And I ended up, finding out how to do the bestseller launch and did it. And so that was the start of my first time becoming a best-selling author. And now I'm a 6-time best-selling author, soon to be 7 times, because I know we're going to make it the list too with the Blue Talk book. And but more importantly too now is that, since COVID hit, I started coaching people to be best-selling authors and, get their books out there in a bigger way. So that's why I'm really honored to work with you, Corey, because I know that, the Blue Talks book is a great series, and it's so cool to see everybody pull their stories together and create this awesome book.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, and I'm so excited to have you as a part of it. And I really am seeing how this is going to, I really do believe that this is going to change the game for everybody involved. So I am really excited. I mean, there's some people that this is their first chance to be a part of what, again, I feel will be a best-selling book. So it's the first time for them to have this experience, and it's such an amazing experience. not only that, I want to add that a lot of times, people listening here may not be in the book or may not care about this stuff, but to also explain why it's significant, it's for people that are in this book. Not only did they become a best-selling author, if we make that, which I think we will, but it's also they have now a book they can share with people. They have a book with their message in it they can share with people. But even on their bio, adding that they're a best-selling author, if they're a coach, a consultant, a speaker, all those things, this adds a significant amount of credibility. Because let's be honest, if you were going to buy off somebody, would you buy off the person that wrote the book on it, or the person that talks about it? In most cases, you're going to trust the person that wrote the book on it. So, I mean, I don't want to get too far into that side because, of course, that's more related to if you're an author, if you're a speaker, if you're a coach, and you want to leverage a book or why you would want to be in a book. But, it's just important to share that, since I talk a lot about how influencers can build their brand. And, of course, that's a big part of what I do. But going back to this book itself, let's talk for a minute, Kelly. I'll share about what bLU Talks is about and a little history on bLU Talks for people, and then we can dive in. I have the book open in front of me, so we can dive into a few of the elements in the book. But the gist of bLU Talks, bLU actually stands for something. So it's bLU, as you can see on the screen. bLU stands for Business Life Universe. And so what does that mean in the real world? It means that the stories you're going to find in the bLU Talks book will relate to one of those areas. So it could be a business message. I know Mitch Kamage, the business beast coach, his story was a business message. Then there's life stories. A lot of the stories in the book are people's life stories and what they learned from them. And it could be anything from how they dealt with confidence to how they dealt with infertility. I mean, it really covers a wide range. And then the universe would be stories about synchronicities and stuff like that as well. So there is really a wide range. That's what bLU stands for again. And bLU is part of a bigger community and a bigger brand, which is now a podcast, YouTube channel. In fact, a new YouTube video went up today. A new podcast episode went up today. It's also live events. Our next live event is actually a little over a month. In Alberta, and it's actually a real live event at the University of Alberta. So there's lots of facets of bLU. Oh, and in fact, we have our virtual events coming up in September as well. Mid-September, we have the bLU Talks Flip Your Script event with a bunch of bLU Talks speakers, and then the Amplify Your Message event at the week of the 28th with some speakers talking about podcasting, writing, and speaking. And Kelly's going to be a co-host with me on the author day and possibly the speaker day. So that's a big mouthful to explain the bLU Talks brand. And then, Kelly, and maybe I'll get you to share your take on it from the outside looking in, and then we can dive into this book itself for the remainder of our conversation.
Well, what I love about it is that, you become the leader that wants to start this brand and this movement of, business, life, and universe. And, I think it's really quite interesting is because when we look at our own lives, like even with my own friends, like I've got some friends that I can talk business to, and then I've got some friends that can talk, about life. And then I have some friends that I can talk about to the universe, right? That spiritual side. And sometimes it's really hard to find that person or that community where you can talk all three to. And so I think that's what this is all about, is that this is a community where we've got people that are focused on their business, their life, and the universe. And you're able to combine your whole body, right? That's, I think, what I really like about it is that this community, we all get it. We all get it that we have this spiritual side of us. We also have this business side to us. And how do we put those together so that we can make an impact, make an income, and survive, and still also be true to ourselves? And that's what I love about it, is that some of these people have revealed stories that they have never revealed to anybody else before. And I think that is so important, is that they now feel able to be vulnerable enough to share those stories.
Love it. And so having said that, so I'll go one step further. I guess then the other thing I'm curious about is in terms of your story. Let's go there first before we dive into the whole. In terms of your story, what can you tell us a little bit about your story and what the cusp of it is?
Well, my story is, again, about my getting burnt as a 2-year-old, but it's also about, really stepping into when my friend said, you need to be a speaker, and I was like, oh my God, like that means like opening up to the world, right? And sharing what happened to me, about me getting burnt, going through my divorce, and being fired from my job to becoming a speaker full time, and then really opening up about some of my stories and things that have happened to me. Like even my life has been made into a documentary called Still Beautiful. And I still remember when they were launching it, is that anticipation and that anxiety and that, what are people going to think of me, right? And so for me, it was really difficult to open up because I had it in my head that if I shared too much about my story, people might think I was bragging.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something I didn't want to do, was brag, because of course that was something my grandma and grandpa taught me, is you don't brag about your life, right? So, my story is all about pushing yourself and overcoming the odds and still doing it, because you never know when your story might impact somebody else. And I've had emails and I've had text messages where people have said, thank you for sharing your story. I now want to live.
Wow.
So it's important. It's important to get out there.
100%. No, I love it. And I mean, that talks, to the fact that, these stories in the book, I believe, can inspire people to look at life differently, look at how they could be approaching things differently. And, as I kind of taken a look at the book for some of the other stories, one of the ones that I opened up to was Dr. Alan Lyca's story. In this book in particular, he basically covered the message that he covered at bLU Talks Harvard, which you will be, I think that video will be coming out in 2 weeks' time. But Alan talked about his. I can tell you. I tell you what the chapter title is, and it kind of tells you what the chapter is about to some degree. But essentially, his chapter title is "The Secrets They Don't Teach You at Business School." And so it's really him sharing what he's learned over the years in business for what we can, how we can apply some of these things in our personal and professional life to gain more credibility. So he talks, to some degree about how you can get more credibility as a business owner, what you should know about business that you're probably not going to learn at school, and stuff like that. So it's, some very unique insight there. And kind of, I guess that's the one I sort of jumped to at first. But a neat synergy is Alan Lyca was actually your doctor. Is that correct?
He was. He was actually my laser doctor. So he approached me 5 years ago while I was on my way to Africa to go speak to some burn survivors. And I get this email in the airport and it said, hey, I've got some new technology that could help you with your scars. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. I don't need any help with my scars. And he said, no, when you get back from Africa, come and see me, because this will really help you. And so, so he is my laser doctor. And so he told me, he said, I want to be a TEDx speaker. And he knew that I had already done one TEDx talk and that I was coaching with you. And so I put him on to you because I knew that he wanted to go big with his career. And actually just 3 weeks ago, we did his book launch, and he became a #1 book in 3 categories. And and so it was so cool to see that he's exploding. He's just going crazy. And it's so amazing to see that, when you help somebody and then lead them like your way too, and then between the two of us, we've been able to help him take his career to a level he never thought was possible. So that's so awesome.
100%. And in fact, I think it's just been over, I don't know the exact timeline, but it's been a bit over a year since Alan and I worked together. And he, since that time, he's been there 3 times. So he's become a 3-time bLU Talk speaker, which means he's going to be on the podcast multiple times. He's in this book, as we said, right now coming out, which will hopefully and ideally, and I think, be a bestseller. And he also will, delivered his TEDx talk shortly after we started working together to help him with that. And he's been speaking on stages, Rotary stages as well, each city he goes to. So he's been doing a lot in a short amount of time. When he said he was going after it, he went after it. And he also launched his own podcast recently. So lots of stuff he's been doing. Another person in the book, Heather Layton, and she talks about weight loss and eating. And, without giving away the goods inside her chapter, I will say she gives some real practical advice for losing and keeping the weight off, which is always, I think, well needed and served because of the fact that a lot of times people go on, for lack of a better way of saying it, fad diets, and then the weight all comes back. So I love her approach. One other one I think you would know. Do you know Gary Benoit, Colette Benoit?
No, actually, I don't.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you did, but Gary is a police officer, but he also has a organization, a company, helping people become resilient through trauma. And so very important, especially right now, a time like this, for first responders and their family members. And so his story is about how he got into doing that and why he got into that, and also some of the advice he gives people. So again, for people that are looking for help with trauma, I mean, I think that's a great thing to tackle. We also have Jeff Doyle, who's the founder of Smile Dog Remote Reception. And Jeff talks about how he launched his company and kind of his whole story and history, but he breaks down the timelines almost like a journal. But what's really neat is that he does it in a way that you could realize how you could do the same. So he does it in a way that makes you kind of realize that you could actually use what he's done as a strategy and journal your way to success. So it's kind of a neat approach to a story as well.
That would be. And Corey, I don't know about, like, I haven't met all the authors, but, one of the things that I come across because I coach people to be authors is that most of them come to me and say, I don't think I can do this. And so one of the cool things about the book is that when you get your story in a book, it gives you that confidence that, yes, you can do it, right? Because so many people think, I can't write a book. And I'm like, yeah, you can do it. Like, take this small step forward and write a chapter. You don't have to write a whole book. Just write a chapter for this book or somebody else's book. And that's a great way to get started.
Absolutely. I agree completely. And yeah, so for people listening, that's what they're looking at, how can they expand their brand, get their message out to more people, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, a compilation book is certainly a way to go with that. And as you were doing that, I was also skimming down to look at some of the other chapter titles so I could give people a couple other feels for what's in here. Another person's story that's in here and so inspiring is a gentleman named Mark Nixon. So Mark Nixon. And Mark had an accident that put him in a wheelchair a number of years ago, and his family and other people around him were basically getting depressed to some degree about his future. Like, in other words, weren't sure how he was going to tackle his future and what it was going to mean for his life. He was an athlete heading in this direction of maybe even becoming a high-level athlete, and then this accident happened, and he decided that he was going to prove to them and the world that this wasn't for lack of a better way of saying it, I think he used the word, but this wasn't a sentence, that he was now in a wheelchair. And he wanted to prove that all the things that you can do and that are possible. And so it shares his story about his family and even his mindset at the time, but how he was able to overcome that. And so if you take that story and say, well, if he could overcome this, what's going on in my life that I can overcome? And so that was a powerful one. But then right after his, there's a story by Max Najist, and I hope I'm pronouncing Max's name correctly there. But Max he battled addictions, and so I can relate to this because my girlfriend Shelly is open about the fact that she was an addict. She's been sober now over 5 years, but she was an addict, and he was as well, Max, and he talked about how low it got. But then now how he goes to schools and actually educates people, and he's a counselor. But he talks about how low it got, and I think when the story is that raw, we can all learn something from that story. And it's a story that pulls us in. Of course, it has a happy ending that we can learn from. And it proves again that we're never too old and it's never too late. So I just want to share that as well.
Exactly. I love the variety of the stories. And what I also love is that we have such a variety of people in it. So it's not just, focused on men or just on women. It's focused on men and women. So there's something for everybody in the book, which is so cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I mentioned the business side earlier, and I just scrolled past Mitch's chapter, and Mitch's chapter is the 5 things every successful entrepreneur needs to know. Without going into anything in this chapter, and Mitch is a beast with this. This is what he helps people do. So if you're a business owner, even just to get access to that chapter and learn from a mind like Mitch's is obviously worth the price of admission. But again, he talks about it tackles, and this, of course, on the business side of bLU, tackles the things that we need to know that a lot of us maybe don't know yet. The other one too, and she's certainly setting the world on fire, but Rosalind Fung is in the book as well. And Rosalind's chapter, and this will give people an indication of her chapter, but also probably mislead people into thinking it's about something different. But her chapter is the hidden value of sexy. And she wants to bring sexy back, but what she talks about is it's not about what you think it is. It's about confidence, charisma, things like that. And so she tells you how in the book to gain your confidence and charisma as far as that goes. And then the one other one I want to mention was Shelley Muñez. She has a chapter in the book about synchronicity. And she even talks about the synchronicity of her and I connecting and how she got in the book. But, she actually tells you strategy. And you don't hear this often. Strategy for getting more synchronicity into your life.
Oh, I can't wait to read that one. That's going to be awesome. I love synchronicity.
And it is power. Like, she actually gives strategy. When I say strategy, it's not just like, me just throwing stuff in the air and it's actually like her saying, here's the 5 steps you have to do to bring more synchronicity into your life.
Oh, wow. That's going to be an exciting chapter to read, because a lot of times people don't believe in synchronicity, or they don't believe that actually happens. And, I look back at my life and how things happened, and it's just like, it blows me away when I, see the domino effect of everything that has happened to make certain things happen. So I love synchronicity. That's cool.
Awesome. Well, and I said I was done, but 2 more quick ones. And there's definitely an equal balance of male and female in the book. And I say equal balance, I mean, it might be 65% female, but it's like still a fairly solid balance. But just to cover 2 male chapters in here as well, because I think this one, just the title of the chapter, will get you thinking, what's this about? But Tim Allison's chapter was I really a world-class duelist? And Tim's situation is that he's 60 something now. I don't want to say his exact age, but he's 60 something now, and he launched a podcast in his 60s, which is it's not his earlier life was that he moved to the bigger city, was making a really good income, threw in the towel on that income to move back to a fishing village in Nova Scotia, started a software company that ultimately was doing $10 million in sales a year. And so he's asked, or he shares the story about it's not always about the money. And that might sound weird when I say end up having a big software company, but he threw in the towel on a 6-figure income in the 80s, which would have been equivalent to probably close to 7 figures. And selling and sales. So a job where he can kind of set his own hours. So it's, again, a very powerful story. And the other one is Travis Bellinger. And I think you probably know Travis.
I do know Travis. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's on a mission to help, men take it to the next level. And so his story is about that, but it's pretty powerful because he went from correct me if I'm wrong here, Kelly, but went from like a trade type career to a now coaching type career, like complete opposite scenario.
That's so awesome. And I think one of the things that I love about this whole COVID is that you hear so many stories of people doing things they never would have done before COVID. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm loving about it, is that COVID is really making people reflect on who they are and what they want out of their life. And so I'm seeing a lot of that where things are happening that never would have happened had COVID not happened. So, and I love that we're doing this during COVID because, we've got a really dedicated team of authors that are really excited about the book, and they're excited that they're in the book because a lot of them, this is their first book they've ever been in. And so they're really excited about getting their story out there and being a part of this launch and seeing it all happen. So I think it's so cool.
100%. And so we're in the pre-order stage right now. We will be moving over to Amazon fairly soon. I don't want to put a date on it, but it's soon. Like when I say soon, I mean within probably a week and a half. And so we're close to moving over to Amazon, and we'll still be telling people about the book, sharing the message of the book and all that kind of stuff then. But the pre-order side is a big part of what Kelly does, and I find the system takes a lot of stress off people. So I would definitely encourage people to get their copy during the pre-order stage. I will add, because this is something I didn't mention as well, the profits from the book are split between 2 charities. One, it wasn't really that we picked them, but I wanted to pick one. Kelly was involved with me in the book that mean something to her. And I sort of picked the local food bank because it's during COVID, it's the most logical for me. But can you tell people, and I'm gonna pronounce this wrong again, I think, but blankets for burn children. Did I get that right this time?
Yeah, that's right. It's for the Blankets for Burn Kids, and what they're all about is that every year at summer camp, what we do is we give away blankets to the burn kids. So the blankets say you are loved, you are needed, you are wanted. And so what happens is a lot of times when someone gets burnt and they're disfigured now, they don't feel like anybody loves them or wants them or needs them. And I know me growing up as a child, as a burn survivor, that was a thing that I thought, is that nobody ever loved me. And I was known as the ugly Scarface girl. And so it was horrible for me because I just thought I'd never get married. I didn't, like, I had some friends, but not a lot. And why it's near and dear to me is that about a year or two ago, someone sent me a picture of a little girl who was 18 months old and got burnt to 75% of her body like me. And I was just devastated when I saw her picture because she's completely disfigured. And I broke into tears because it was like, I was thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to go through what I went through. She's going to have all kinds of surgeries, and she's still having surgeries. And she's covered in scars. And I know she's being teased. I know she's being bullied. And I thought, let's send her one of the blankets so that she knows that she's loved, needed, and wanted. And so that's why it's so near and dear to my heart. One of the other things we did is when we had the big fire for Fort McMurray and the whole city was evacuated, it was about 50,000 people. We found out that the firefighters had no blankets. And so the firefighters said, we would like the blankets. And so 150 blankets went up to Fort McMurray for the firefighters. And so, yeah, so there's lots of things like that have been done. And so, we just want to see more people to feel loved, needed, and wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from that end, I wanted to make sure that people know that the money is, going to a good cause. They're supporting a good cause. And then on top of that, I'll add in that we're also, one of the things that I put forth that I said for this one, I'll probably, I don't want to say for sure. I might end up doing it for future ones, but I'll do it for this one for sure, is I haven't ever done a public, what I'll call live Q&A or a public ask me anything type session. So I decided this one for anybody who grabs the book before we get over to Amazon, so in the pre-order stage, because we want to move the pre-orders copies, and we have been doing really well. Like the sales have been coming in every day, but I want to spike that a little bit for the next couple of days. But basically, anybody who orders in the pre-order stage, what I'm going to do is put them on the list so that they can come and attend an Ask Me Anything session. So like a live Q&A, Ask Me Anything type session, group coaching, whatever way you want to call it. And somebody asked me yesterday, what can they ask me? What would be the things that I'm willing to tackle? And I basically put it like this. I've been doing interviews now over the years with thousands of thought leaders, everybody from Les Brown to T. Harv Eker to Michael E. Gerber to Shalene Johnson, J.J. Virgin.
James Redfield.
Yeah, James Redfield.
Lisa
Nichols, Kate Hudson. Stewart from Big Bang Theory, if we go from the actor side of things, Keith Ashante, the pop star. And I say this not to name drop, but to give you a perspective of, you can ask me any question, which means you can ask me what Les Brown said to me once the camera was off. You can ask what Bob Proctor told me was the thing that people don't take advantage of it. It's the thing that probably will be the result of their failure or success. You can ask me what Kate Hudson told me about family and passion. And so what I'm getting at is you can lift the curtain and ask me things behind the scenes I've never shared publicly. And or you could ask me about media, how to get more branding, how to get on shows, how to get an article with Entrepreneur Forbes, all that kind of stuff. So anything you want to pick my mind about, basically you can. And your total cost is essentially $20 and shipping, $20 plus shipping. That's what it costs. And we're doing it on October 15th. So it's not like I'm saying, and then we'll decide when we're going to do it. Like I'm actually going to do it on October 15th. So you'll know the date you're in. And all you have to do is grab a copy. If you're getting it through PayPal, which is really the way it's set up, then I'll get a receipt anyway. But what I would ask is people send me a proof of purchase just so it's easier for me to keep track. But either way, I mean, we'll go through and call them all and make sure that everybody's covered too. But that's something I added to this. So your money, some of the profit goes, well, the profit itself goes to charity. Some of what you spend goes to charity, and you get in on a Q&A that if I were doing this for a client, if a company called me to do this, and Kelly, you know this to be true, it would be thousands upon thousands of dollars. If a company were hiring me to do this, and I'm saying for $20, you can get in on the first one I've ever done. So
That's
I just want to add that as well.
That's great. That's an awesome bonus that people can get. You know, Corey, one other thing that we haven't talked about is that we know that we've got 2 more books coming out after this one. So what if somebody else wants to become an author in the Blue Talk book? What can they do?
So,
how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, great question. We're working on number 4 right now, actually, which is amazing. Like the first one is just in the pre-order stage, and we already have 2 more full that are set to come out, and we're working on the 4th one right now. The 4th one, if I were going by memory, I would say I think we have like 3 spots left in the 4th one, 2 or 3 spots, and the easiest way to find out more about how you can get involved in this and the whole Blue Talks community is really just to reach out to me. So whether that's through Facebook Messenger, if that's how you're listening, if it's through LinkedIn message, or if you want to send me an email, any of those work. My email address is pretty easy to remember. It's thatspeakerguy@gmail.com. And then what I also did was in the link here, I put the Blue Talks book. .com website for ordering. And Kelly, I know you set up a short link or a bit.ly link or whatever. I don't know if you want to drop it in there as well. But yeah, otherwise that they can reach out to me and we can help them get involved. And of course, if they want to do their own book and they want to jump right past the Blue Talks book, or if they are working on their own book and they want help with marketing it or getting it out to the world, then of course they can reach out to you, Kelly. And where would they reach out to you at?
Yeah, exactly. So you can find me on Facebook, or they can send me an email at bookkellytospeak@gmail.com and reach out to me that way. And yeah, absolutely. Would love to coach more people to become authors. And so, yeah. And in fact, I'm going to be doing a 5-day challenge in September. Yeah, September 14th to the 18th to help people get their book started. So, yeah.
Awesome. And that's near our upcoming event. So they'll hear a lot more about that as we get closer to the virtual event as well, or I should say, the live virtual event that we're doing. Also, for those commenting here, thank you so much. I tried to comment to every person. That's, if you notice me distracted typing something, that's what I was doing. I was trying to comment to each person so that they would at least see it when we're still live. But thank you so much, Kelly. This has been an absolute pleasure. I didn't have any sort of game plan coming into this. I just really wanted to tell people more about the book so they can get a better feel for the book. And then, of course, tomorrow, like I said, you can watch some of the authors and even non-co-authors, but people that are still in the Blue Talks community are going to be doing Facebook Live. So you can see some Facebook Lives making their way around the internet tomorrow. So Kelly, Woodhouse, Falardeau, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being a part of this. Such an important peg in the wheel, if you will. And Kelly, is there anything you want to add before we say goodbye to everybody?
You know, there's 34 authors in the book. And, you know, it's interesting, Corey, we didn't talk about your story, but that's okay. We'll talk about it another time. But there's something for everybody in the book. I love how you put it, Corey, is that it's TEDx meets Blue Talks, or meets Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I think that pretty much sums up the book, is that there's so many inspirational stories that are going to encourage you to, you know, have a great life. So absolutely. I want to thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And yeah, and I think that's important to know for people. It's not just inspiration. It's not just education. It's not just entertainment. I mean, it's all of those things. So, and I don't shy away from that. Some people say, I don't want inspiration, you know, or inspiration is just, you know, doesn't actually help you get anything. But in my opinion, some people need that extra push and that extra spark in the fire to actually take the action. What I like about these authors and the people in our Blue Talks community, some of them are giving you the spark, and some of them are actually teaching you the action steps to take once you get the spark. So I think if you read the whole book, by the way, which is really cool, it's like chicken soup in the sense that you can read one section at a time, but you can read it one at a time. But if you read the whole book, ultimately, you're going to get both the strategies for how to do it and also the inspiration to do it and the motivation. So that's the idea behind it. So take advantage of this. Again, $20 plus shipping. Lots of cool things come with it. Again, you get a copy of the book. You get access to at least for now, the first time I've ever done this, and maybe the only time, the public Q&A, and then get to contribute to people charity. So awesome. Thank you, everybody. I so appreciate you. I went a little longer than I planned. But thank you, Kelly. I think we covered a lot of ground. And until next time, everybody, watch for me and others in the community on the same bat time, same bat channel.
You bet.
Thanks, everyone. Have an magical and amazing day.